Good evening. Gordon Brown is among a group of 13 cabinet ministers whose expense claims are being revealed in detail by a national newspaper. Among the allegations is that Jack Straw, the Justice Secretary, claimed the full council tax on his second home despite getting a 50% discount. Mr Straw's office said tonight that he had spotted the errors and then had repaid the money. Well, for more details, let's join our political editor Nick Robinson at Westminster.
For many months, Hugh, the House of Commons has been dreading this moment, knowing that under freedom of information legislation, having lost fights in the courts, that every receipt of every expense claim made for the past 4 years would be published. But tonight, before they were expecting it, a national newspaper has begun to publish the lot. The embarrassment begins tonight for the government. It will follow, we're told, for other parties and for people at lower levels in the House of Commons. There is embarrassment for ministers, and some of that information is still coming through about what some will call mistakes, others will call fraud, and what everybody will say is a system so lax that it has become completely absurd. Just what has the money we give to MPs been paying for? That's been the question that's tarnished the reputation of the Commons for months. Until now, journalists and the public have pored over occasional leaks of who claimed for what, from porn films to bath plugs. But tonight, the Telegraph begins to publish the detail of every MP's expense claim. What is revealed is that the Prime Minister paid more than £6,000 to his brother Andrew for a cleaner they shared. There is, though, no suggestion that he profited from the arrangement. In addition, the paper claims that Gordon Brown claimed twice for plumbing work. That Justice Secretary Jack Straw wrongly claimed £1,500 in council tax and more still for his mortgage. Community Secretary Hazel Blears claimed for 2 televisions and thousands of pounds worth of furniture for 2 properties in just a single year. And Welsh Secretary Paul Murphy told the Commons authorities that his water was too hot, so he needed a new boiler.
I think for the first time after years of trying to get this information, Telegraph readers, the general public, will have an idea of the scale of the systemic abuse of parliamentary allowances that has been going on for years and has grown up out of a system which clearly is no longer suitable for what it was designed to do.
Abuse or fraud, in your view?
I think that's going to be for others to judge.
How much did the Telegraph pay for this information?
You know, one of the great rules about journalism is that you never talk about your sources. The fact is that what matters is that we have established that this information is reliable, and it is certainly in the public interest that we publish it.
How are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Tonight, a spokesman for Gordon Brown said he'd paid back a sum, believed to be £150, after an inadvertent error, and claimed that the Commons authorities had apologised for not spotting his mistake. Mr Straw is said to have spotted his own error, which the paper claims stretched over 5 years, and to have alerted the authorities and repaid the money. Hazel Blears insists that she broke no rules by buying one flat and selling another, and had bought only reasonable furnishings. A friend said, "Hazel's as honest as the day is long. She doesn't live a lavish lifestyle." Ask any MP and they'll insist that you don't get rich going into politics. They'll tell you that they need to live in 2 places, and that costs money. But tonight, some face very awkward questions. Others fear that they may be next.
Nick, we mentioned that the details are still coming in, but, potentially, how serious is this?
It's extraordinarily serious. It's serious first and foremost, of course, for the reputation of politics and for the reputation of the House of Commons. And that, I would suggest, is good for no one. It is clearly bad tonight, though, for the government. Gordon Brown claiming credit for beginning to sort out the expenses system, facing real questions about his own expenses claims and serious questions about some in his own cabinet. Now, of course, they will say, they are beginning to say through their spokespeople, that look, these were mistakes. Maybe their claims were filled in by other people. That the Fees Office, they're the people in the House of Commons who supervise this system, should have spotted these mistakes. That when they spotted them, that they repaid the money. The problem is that is not likely to cut an awful lot of mustard with people who know that in their own jobs and in their own lives, they could be sacked for anything like it.
Nick, just a thought about what's to come, because as you mentioned earlier, this is just the first tranche, if you like, of some of these details. How do you see things developing from here?
Well, it's the first tranche, and you may be wondering why. What have the Telegraph done that other journalists haven't? The suspicion is that they paid an awful lot of money. The rumour has been that one disc was doing the rounds of newspapers with requests for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds for this information to scoop rivals. You heard there the assistant editor of the Telegraph refusing to comment on whether that is the case, but certainly not denying it. This means that they now not only have all that expenses information, but they also have something that the House of Commons was not due to publish. That is the address details of MPs, and that acts as a sort of code, if you like, to unlock the information. The receipts alone don't really tell you what MPs were claiming for, at least where they were claiming for it. The address information that the Telegraph has but is not publishing allows them to piece together the information to reveal that an MP claimed for more than one home or 2 or 3 homes and so on. And it is clear to me that they intend to do this for day after day in detail, beginning tonight with the Cabinet, but the Tories will now know they are on notice. They're next.
A quick comment, Nick, because Downing Street are now saying they want to clarify the reports about the cleaner and the payments to the cleaner, saying the cleaner worked for both Gordon and Andrew Brown, that Andrew Brown paid for the cleaner and Gordon Brown reimbursed him. So the process of rebutting all of this, as you were saying, will go on fairly busily over the next few days.
That's right, and I think the Prime Minister's office would no doubt say, look, this is the sort of arrangement people have in their lives, that he and his brother shared a cleaner and it was just easier for him to give money to his brother and his brother to give money to the cleaner. What's the problem with that? The problem is that it is not a system that was scrutinised. In other words, there was no system of checking. Was that precisely what happened? Were there receipts for that cleaner? Do we know that money didn't pass hands? And the difficulty MPs have now got is that often they can only just insist that what they were doing was what they believed was within the rules, had the approval of the Commons authorities, no one asked them any questions, nobody raised any doubts, and they can't now prove it after the fact. That will leave some saying, what a mess, but it can be cleaned up. But others inevitably will say this is worse than a mess. In some cases, it is wrongdoing, and in some cases, people should pay a very heavy price for it.
Nick, thank you very much. Nick Robinson there at Westminster. Well, there were chaotic scenes at Westminster earlier today as campaigners for the rights of Gurkha veterans came face to face with the government